fault detection system in ammonia plant using machine learning technique. This is my outline, abstract, introduction, methodology, result, and the last one is conclusion and recommendation. The first one is abstract. Synthesis loop is one of critical system in ammonia plant. Therefore, there is urgency for maintaining the reliability and availability of the system. Most of the shutdown event occurs suddenly after the alarm reach. So there needs to be an early detection system to ensure anomaly problem captured by operator before touching the alarm setting. The implementation of machine learning algorithm in making fault detection model has been used in various industry and objects. The algorithm used is the basic and ensemble classifier to compare which algorithm generate the best classification result. This research can provide a new idea and perspective into ammonia plant industry to prevent unscheduled shutdown by utilizing data using machine learning. Okay, nowadays we are in Industry 4.0, and this creates an environment where it is possible for engineer in any subject to assess in real time production and equipment healthy monitoring. One of the chemical industry that has tremendous complex process and advanced technology is ammonia plant. The industry has so many critical equipment, either static or rotating equipment. The main problem of the process industry is production inefficiency, namely the loss of potential revenue due to unscheduled shutdown. Also, the environmental effect also need attention. So it is necessary to detect early failure in the production machine. We can see in this pie chart that 103G and synthesis loop system has been a quarter problem for all rotating equipment. 103G is a syngas compressor. I will explain the process flow diagram in the next slide. This data is taken from 2017 until 2019. And this number, 300,000 USD, is calculation based on process engineer in the plant. The equipment fault anomalies in data-driven has received attention in recent years, but literature on fault detection in ammonia synthesis system is still missing. And the next one, this research will focus on synthesis loop system where hydrogen is reacted with nitrogen and became ammonia. The system is continuous production process. The plant is running 24 hours for 18 until 24 months, up to 2 years operation. So the plant should be reliable. There are 3 sections. The first is front end. Front end is primary, secondary reformer, CO2. And the middle end is metanator, dryer, and purifier. And the back end is compression system, synthesis ammonia.
Modeling kan?
Modeling optimization itu simulasi Pak Andri.
Jadi yang mana?
And I will explain detail about the process happen in the next section. So there are so many research related to this study, including bearing, gearbox, wind turbine, compressor, and semiconductor, chemical process, and power plant. The challenge of this research is the lack of faulty data and the variable is complex. And this one is the research objective. We want to design a fault detection system in synthesis section of ammonia plant using machine learning and finally give an early warning to the user before plant shutdown. The research methodology is using CRISP-DM, which consists of business understanding, data preparation, modeling, and evaluation. This is the detailed information process of the SYN loop system. We should acknowledge the process, business process before.
Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Mr. Helmi. Would you ask the operator which slide should be shown?
Yeah, this one, correct. Business understanding.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. If you need a next, please say it so she can move to the next slide. Okay, thank you.
Okay, okay. So I will continue. This is the business understanding. Syngas compressor, it compresses rich hydrogen and ammonia in converter. So there is 3 main equipment, 103G, this is the compressor, and then ammonia converter, and the last one is chiller. This is just an overview of the process. Yeah, I will not explain more details because yeah, we are not a chemical engineer. Okay, next slide. Data understanding. In this data understanding, we can see that we are taking the data from the distributed control system historian. And there are 9 failures detected in Sinloop system in the last 2 years, and the total instance is 28,000, and with 55 total variable monitored. Next. Next. Figure 4 is anomaly data before plant shutdown. So there are some anomaly detected. It is about 1 until 2 days before the shutdown happened. And then number 3, that is the description of parameter process, the variable, and then that was the mean value of the variable. Next. And figure 5 is detailed unstable data finding. This is different from figure 4 because this is
You have 3 more minutes.
Yeah, detailed data. Okay, next. Next. Data preparation, we are using normalization, min-max normalization, and also key fault. Next. This is the modeling. We are using Anaconda Navigator software and using Python programming language. This is the parameter of each algorithm. Next. Why 7? Because we don't know the best fit model for this algorithm. So I need to compare all the algorithm based on the paper I read before. And also we include the ensemble learning such as random forest, AdaBoost, XGBoost. Okay, next. This is the evaluation criteria. The evaluation criteria, there are 5, yeah, accuracy, recall, specificity, precision, and also F1 score. Okay, next. Result and analysis. After we process the model, the result is divided into 2. The first is training and the second is data testing. Okay, next.
Could you jump into the conclusion or the results and conclusion?
Yeah, this one is the result. We can see in the data training classification result that logistic regression has less sensitive to fault analytics fault in unbalanced data. The best algorithm is random forest and XGBoost. And also we need not only to see the accuracy, but also the specificity number, because the value of specificity number shows there is a prediction error that the normal condition should be an anomaly condition. This condition is avoidable in continuous process monitoring, especially in ammonia plant. Okay, next. This is the data testing. From table 3, we can see that the logistic regression cannot fit to a fault analytic model in unbalanced data. And the best algorithm for this testing is random forest. XGBoost give a good result, but the specificity number is only 57%. Once more, we are not looking for a good result in 2 or 3 parameters, but the stable in all parameters, because the specificity number has the most important parameter. It shows that there is a prediction error that the normal condition should be an anomaly condition. Okay, next. Next, please. Next. From the result of the classification model using data testing can be seen that random forest algorithm gives the best score in all evaluation criteria. XGBoost and AdaBoost also gives a good performance but need to be improved in specificity number. Also, the use of ensemble learning method is better than basic classifier, which tends to be more flexible and less data sensitive. Next. We come to the conclusion. Anomaly process detection before plant shutdown can be resolved by using classification technique. Operator can easily detect process abnormal activity. This new system can help operation team to detect anomaly condition within the normal process before alarm or trip set point reach. The fault detection system using machine learning on synthesis section of ammonia plants rely on the data history from DCS. So model should be updated to give a good accuracy recall specificity score. The development of fault detection can also be the basis of predictive maintenance and condition-based maintenance strategy. And the last one, next. This is the future research can be done by developing maintenance scheduling period to the result of anomaly detection. Predictive and maintenance strategy should be able to prevent unscheduled shutdown in ammonia plant. Also, the use of other algorithms such as neural network, deep learning method to give a comparison to this research. Another advanced research is to develop knowledge representation from this case study. And the last one is, it should be noted that the case of fault detection rely on the process system and the machine characteristic. Each system and the design of the plan will be different, which cause analysis and result of this research are limited to the system process that are similar to this research object. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Helmi Qasim. I think you use up your time for question and answer. So maybe only one question from all. If you have question for Mr. Helmi, any one of you? Any question? No? Okay, if you don't have any question, maybe from me, I only want to ask one question regarding your research. You think in this fault detection, which one is more important to recognize the performance? Is it the you use the accuracy, you use the sensitive recall, and then specificity? Which one that do you think more important than others?
I think 5 of them is all important, yeah. But the very important is specificity number. Because
why is it?
As you know that the specificity number is evaluate the number. I mean, it shows that there is a prediction error that the normal condition should be an anomaly. So when the specificity number is good or it's high, means the model is very good. But if the specificity number is low, mean there are so many prediction error. I mean, the real data is anomaly, but the prediction data is normal. So it is very dangerous for the continuous monitoring process in ammonia plant, like that.
Oh, so in the ammonia case, the something which is detected abnormal and the real condition it is normal is more dangerous rather than detecting something into normal and in the real condition is abnormal. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, no. I think this like this. If the real condition is abnormal, real condition is abnormal, but if the model predict that this is normal, it is very dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, that one I agree. So
Yeah, yeah.
if that one is what you mean, I think it is called recall, not the specificity. Maybe you can check again, because in my knowledge, as long as the one that in my understanding, something recognized as an abnormal condition is a positive result in the standard word. So we avoid to get the detecting something abnormal into normal. That's what recall want to tell us about. So in the default detection, in my understanding, recall is more important than specificity. Yeah. Okay, that's maybe my comment, more
Okay.
common, and you can check.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you very much for Mr. Helmi Qasim. We give applause. And for the next presenter will be Mr. Muhammad Faisal Jundana. You have 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity so I can present my paper to all of you. My name is Muhammad Faisal Jundana Mutakin, and I am the co-author of the for this paper. The title of this paper is Cluster Analysis using K-means method to classify Indonesia regency or city based on Human Development Index indicator. Before we go on, I want to tell you about the agenda. First, introduction. Second, research and method. And next, result and analysis. And the last is conclusion. For the introduction, the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, has published Human Development Index, or HDI, as an indicator to measure the success of a country development. HDI is a tool to measure the welfare of a region or expectancy at birth, is we know as a long and healthy life, and knowledge with two indicators, school continuity and average of school continuity. And the last is a decent standard of living. The indicator is the expenditure per capita. These four indicators will influence each other. High value of the HDI indicates success of a country economic development. Next. This is the infographic. The data I take from the Indonesian Central Statistic Agency, or BPS, recorded in the 2018. The point of HDI is 70.39, 0.58 point higher than 2017, but it's not fulfill the government target, because the government target is 71.5. Based on the region, the highest HDI is the Jakarta province, and the lowest is Papua. Next. Next. Research methods. In general, this research consists of 6 following steps. First step is a purpose of cluster analysis. The main purpose of cluster analysis is to separate objects into 2 or more groups based on the similarity of the spatial characteristic. And the second step is research design in cluster analysis. 2 important things in this stage are detecting outlier and measuring similarity. stage 3 is assumption in cluster analysis, because in cluster analysis we have two assumption. First is the sample is represent of the population and no effect of multicollinearity. The stage 4 is the process of getting cluster and assessing overall eligibility. Fifth stage is interpretation of cluster, and the last stage is cluster profiling and validation process. Next, the result and analysis. The data used for this study is Human Development Index for each city and district throughout Indonesia in 2018. Following are data from 514 cities or districts in Indonesia. Because in Indonesia, as we know, there are 98 of the city and 416 of the district. Cluster analysis is not a statistical inference technique, but a method to measure the structure of observational data characteristic. The data was collected in different units, therefore a data standardization process, because the data I take is not the same unit. For example, in the left table, for the EPC, expenditure for per capita is from in million, and for the school continuity is range before range from 6 until 17. So because the units are not same, I want to process the data for standardization. Next. So there is a data standardization for the 540 data set. This is for the example. So we can use the Z-score for next process. Next, the output beside in the left table is the first of display of the data clustering process before iterating. The cluster process will be generated after iteration and final cluster result. This output will not be analyzed. The table above is the first display of data clustering process before iterating. To detect the number of times the iteration is carried out in the clustering process unit process using 514 sets of data. The data objects can be seen in the following output display.
Okay, 3 more minutes.
Yeah, so there is a final cluster. For example, for the Regency Simueli from the province of Aceh, the distance is 1.67337. So the Regency into the cluster 1. Next, final cluster score. The final cluster center table shows the result of the analysis for the each of the criteria and cluster form. If the calculation result is found to be negative, it means that the cluster in equation is below the total average, and if the calculation result is found to be positive, it means that cluster in equation is above the total average. Next, the cluster member. After we process all of the step, we can find the 3 cluster. First, cluster 1 is there are a member of 381 district or city. Cluster 2, 19 district or cities, and the cluster 3 is 114 district or cities. Next, the conclusion is in the cluster 2 is the lowest of the 4 dimension of HDI. There is 300. Oh, sorry. The human. There is 19 district or city in the cluster 2, the lowest of the HDI in Indonesia, and cluster 1 has 381 regency city, has a low score but not as severe as the member of cluster 2, so it is a category as a medium cluster. And the last is the have already high average score, so that for cluster 3 it's only necessary to keep the score high from the result above. It can be seen that cluster 3 members, so it can be concluded that there is a significant imbalance of a value in Indonesia cities with a district in one of provinces. Thus the result on this study can be used as a reference for the central government in making policies relating to equitable development in Indonesia. So there is my research for the.
Okay, thank you very much. Your time is up, and now it's time for question and answer. Anyone want to ask question to Mr. Faisal? Feel free to ask question.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
My name is Fitra. I want to know how you do this research and how do you get the data? And about the K-means program, do you program it by yourself or you just use MATLAB and call the program that included in the MATLAB? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fitra. For the research is I use the data from the BPS, or as we know as Badan Pusat Statistik, for year for 2018. Why I use the value of to 2018? Because for the year of 2020 and 19 is not published by the BPS, so I can take the 20 and 18. And I use the data is I process using SPSS only, because there is some calculation I use in the SPSS application. Thank you.
I have a question.
Are all the question answered?
Hello.
Mr.
Yes, okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Faisal, for your presentation. We give applause, and then it's time for the next presenter. It's going to be Miss Bonnie Alexandra.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Bonnie. I'm presenting my paper titled Time Series Forecasting for Non-Stationary Data, a case study of petrochemical product price. Next. This is the overview of the presentation. First is the introduction, and then the research methodology, and then the data description and stationarity test, and the forecasting, and then the end is the conclusion. Next. Okay, next. Okay, this is the background of the study about the packaging industry sector. The packaging industry sector is growing every year and projected to be growing 3% per year until 2028. And especially the plastic packaging, among other material, is growing the highest. Next. And then the plastic packaging itself is produced by plastic converter that convert the raw material, which is resin or polymer, into the plastic packaging, the plastic components. And this resin is actually a derivative of crude oil, and so it is a petrochemical product. And the issue with the raw material resin is about the price that comprise of 50% of the production cost of plastic packaging. And with that big percentage, the resin price is fluctuating. The rapid rising of oil and naphtha price is not easy to pass the consumer price, and so does the resin price that is fluctuating is difficult to pass to the price of the plastic packaging. And so we need the resin price forecasting. Next. And about price forecasting, time series forecasting from literatures, we can find two categories of methods. First is the traditional methods, which is the statistics and econometrics. And the second is the self-computing methods or artificial intelligence methods. And many researchers have done their study with both methods, but there are contradictory opinions in the works of literatures on the superiority of artificial intelligence methods over traditional methods and vice versa. Next. And specifically for the petrochemical product price forecasting itself, it is found that most petrochemical price forecasting is conducted on the energy source level, which is the crude oil. But actually, the derivative of crude oil, especially the resin, suffer from price fluctuation as well. So we need to conduct a forecast. And in this research, I do resin price forecasting by using both statistics or traditional methods and soft computing methods, which is the ARIMA and neural network. Next. Next. For the research methodology start with determination of research topic, problem, objective, and scope. Continue by literature study, data collection, stationary tests, and then the forecasting of the price series, and then the accuracy test. Finally, we do the comparison of forecasting accuracy and draw a conclusion and recommendation for future research. Next. This is the data description of the resin price, specifically SDPE. The data is 6 years with weekly interval. First 5 years are used for training data, and the 6th year is used for test data. Next. For the stationary test, we use Dickey Fuller test, and from the result we got that the price data is non-stationary. Next. And then next, the ARIMA forecasting is conducted, and we got the forecasting error of 4.3%. This is a MAPE error. And then with the model 120, 1 representing the autoregressive term with second order differencing, and then 0 is the moving average term. Next. And then for the neural network forecasting, we use MLP, multilayer perceptron, and get forecasting error of 9.2% with number of hidden nodes 20 and differencing order 2, repetitions 20, and AR autoregressive lags of 52. Next. And then the forecasting accuracy is compared. We see that the MAPE, we have higher MAPE of NN, which is more than double the MAPE of ARIMA. And also the Diebold-Mariano statistic text also confirm the result that there is a significant difference between ARIMA and NN forecasting accuracy. And then also Pesaran-Timmerman statistic test is also used for measuring the directional accuracy of the forecast forecasting result, and we got that for ARIMA, 86% of sign of change of predicted values is following the actual values. Why for neural network, we only got 76%. Next. Okay, we jump to the conclusion that first, both ARIMA and NN model confirms that the time series requires two-time differencing as a result of the non-stationary characteristic. And then it is essential to first understand the data characteristic to fine-tune the parameters of the methods. And then from the data that that use the forecasting error by using NN is higher than the ARIMA, and the accuracy is from the statistical test is different. And then, but both the NN and ARIMA forecasting can accurately predict the rise and falls of the actual values. And then for the future research, it is recommended to find lower forecasting error or even better directional changes, as we can see from the graph before that actually even the directional changes is from statistical test is already good, but actually the MAPE is still, the forecasting error is still high. And then it is recommended also to extend the research by exploring more on different network architectures or with other artificial intelligence method or maybe hybrid methods. And finally, the results of the forecasting performance of different methods from future research are expected to provide a concluding output on the most appropriate forecasting model to use for the particular data characteristic of time series object of interest, which is the resin price. Okay, this is the end of the presentation. And any
presentation, Bonnie. Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. Yeah, any question from any of you?
I have a question.
Okay, please, Mr. Miftah.
Yeah, how many variables you involve in your analysis, and what is the response variables, and why don't try to use another time series forecasting rather than use the neural network or something like AI?
I use, this is a univariate time series forecasting, so I only use the price data. So only one variable.
Oh, variable.
Yes.
How many data sets along the time?
300 something observation.
Okay.
From 6 years, weekly interval.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe I have one more question for Ms. Bonnie. I just wonder, in the time series analysis that you conducted, what is in this research and some previous study that I have read before, maybe NN has better performance. Some of them NN show better performance than ARIMA. And your study, ARIMA show better performance than NN. Maybe the majority, I don't know. Yeah, it really depends on the characteristic of the data. But could you tell us what are the strengths of the ARIMA compared to NN, or maybe in this in your study, why ARIMA perform better than NN? Do you have any reason or explanation for that? Thank you.
Actually, the ARIMA is good for predicting the data with linear characteristic. And actually, yeah, as you have said that there are literatures that the result is that the neural network is better than ARIMA, but in this study, I think the neural network itself, I could explore more on the parameter, on the architecture. That maybe there is other architecture. If I do more trial and error, it will be getting better. Actually, in fact, after I submit this paper, I do I extend the work and I use another parameter, and actually I get a better result of the NN compared to the one that I present just now. So it depends on the parameter that we use, and we should actually fine tune well on those parameters.
Yeah, maybe for the next you can use the optimization method to tune the parameter for
Yes.
NN to get a better result. Thank you. Okay, thank for Ms. Bonnie. Thank you very much. We give applause, and then the next presenter will be Mr. Fitra Hidianto, and you want to share your own screen, right? Please unmute your voice.
Okay, thank you. Have you seen my screen yet?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Okay, thank you. Please introduce myself first. My name is Fitra Hidianto. I'm still student in electrical engineering, magister of electrical engineering technical faculty Universitas Indonesia, and this time I want to present my paper that can end methods with varied chi, distance, and training data to disaggregate NLM with similar load characteristic. Okay, in this paper I do a research with KNN method, and I do this not by software. I just do it programming in MATLAB, and I do programming because KNN method is actually simple, but I do some varied with k value, then with the distance data, so and also differentiate the training data and the test data. About the KNN method, so maybe we already familiar with KNN method, yeah, because it's the most simple method, I think, yeah. It's it has simplicity, and it's based on the previously classified learning data, and it doesn't have a training activity, but it has to store the training data to be compared with the data that will be tested. Okay, this is the flowchart that I do in this research. Yeah, so basically the data is from the NELM. You know, NELM is a non-intrusive load monitoring. It's a electrical data that collected from the main MCB, yeah, from the house, and we can disaggregate the data to the specific equipment, so we can do some manipulating or anything like that. In this research, the data is I do normalization with min max minim normalization. Next, 9 distance measurement method. I use 9 distance measurement. Actually, in regularly we use only Euclidean distance in the any machine learning method, yeah, maybe KNN or k-means like that. But this time I want to make like a comparison, and I want to find which only from 9 distance. Actually there's more than 50 kind of distance, but I took this 9 distance from one paper that there's a in the 10 best result in terms of accuracy, which is there's Manhattan, Longitudinal distance, Canberra distance, Clark distance, divergence distance, squared G squared, average distance, Hasana distance, and last is Euclidean distance. Okay, in this method on is the method distance, I think I will not explain much here because I just use the equity or the so the Manhattan distance represents the sum of absolute difference between the opposite values in vectors, and the equation is like this. The Longitudinal distance is a natural log of absolute difference between two vectors. The equation is like this also. Then the Canberra distance, we can see the equation in the screen. Kemudian next is Clark distance, we can see the equation. There's no much difference between, but it's have their own specifical. Then divergent distance, you can see in the equation here also. Then a square G squared, average distance, Hasana distance. Hasana distance has a two kind that if it's up to 0, I mean positive, or the other is the equation for the negative. But because the data is normalization, it's distributed between 0 and 1, so I use this positive equation. And the last is equation Euclidean distance. Okay, the data that I took for this research is MPD2 from NEL dataset that I downloaded from the data first at Harvard. It contains electricity, water, and natural gas measurement and 1 minute interval. So it's international, or it's a published data set that we can use for doing research in the NELM, NLFM, and doing any improvement. Next, as electrical engineering, I think it's maybe we are technical, so it's we are already commonly, or we are already we already know about the active power. So as we can see in the screen, the real power is in the screen is the axis 1, the real power 1, and the reactive power is the imaginary one, and the complex power is the sum, actually, like in the XY chart, like that. So mostly all of the instrument, all of the measurement electrical we use in daily is only measure the real power distance. So and there is many overlapping, there is many similar real power from many equipment. So in this research I include for the reactive power to different one another. Okay, next, this chart is in this research I make a what we say synthetic data, synthetic data that content of 3 appliances. Actually, if we do in the household, there is many appliances like TV, refrigerator, clothes dishwasher, like that. So many, but at this time I do only for 3 appliances. So it's a synthetic data, and I do the combination of these 3 data. So I got this kind of chart. I will explain it later. First, the first equipment is the dishwasher chart. So you can see in the screen that the equipment chart is not flat. It's have a specific, or have a unique chart. It's not just flat or just like normally, or simple chart like that. And we see that the blue line is the real power, the brown one is the reactive power. The next is a clothes washer chart.
3 more minutes.
And the chart is okay. The chart is more complex. Then next is TV and by yourself. It's very, I think, very difficult to analyze. I think with KNN. Okay. This is the data dishwasher. I do combination, and at this time I have 8 combination from the sub. Okay, this is the data that is a difference. There is a similar real power. Yeah, you can see in this line. Yes. Okay. This is the display of real power and reactive power in the 2 dimension. We can see there's a similar real power and overlapping of similar real power, and this is in the 3 dimension of the data. Yeah. And this is the data statistic. I just show it, but I'm not really doing equation or nothing. We'll do from this. Yeah. Next, this is the result with this 9 to 25 from the real power only. Okay, this is the equation for the accuracy, precision, and recall. This is the accuracy, precision, and recall.
Fitra, could you start the share screen again? I cannot see your screen.
Oh, okay.
How about everybody else?
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Okay, have you seen it? Okay, is it already seen? Yeah. Okay, equation for accuracy, precision, recall. The accuracy is, we can see that the right data that already classified by KNN method, and we can compare it to all of the data. The first precision is with this. This is the positive, true positive, and the recall is from the. Okay, this is the equation for true positive and false positive, false negative, and the true negative. This is the result of the KNN disaggregation from real power only data, but from the 100 data tests, that the accuracy we can find in here is for K value is 3, then the accuracy is around 72%. Yeah, this is the accuracy of KNN, and when I do in the real power only data. Okay, this is the chart, so we can see the maximum is around 70% up, and the K value is around 3. Okay, this is the confusion table from the KNN real power with okay. This confusion table is we use for the analyzing if there is any similarity or if there is any improvement we use this confusion table. I hope that we already are familiar with this. Yeah, and this is the result of the precision and
okay,
but this is on percent data and fault distance.
You jump to the conclusion, please. The time is up.
Okay. I will show with slide. Yeah.
Yes.
And the main for this research is to prove that the additional of the data of additional reactive power will significantly improve the accuracy and the precision and recall data. So with the additional reactive power we have, we can show in this table that the accuracy is improved up to 95%. Yeah, it's more than 20% up rather than only data only on real power data. Okay, then we can see in the chart here, and this is the precision recall with real power with real power and the data with reactive power for 100% data test. The for the precision recall is also increased, yeah, is in line with the accuracy. Okay, in this, but in the cross-fault validation, so the I do in research is I test on the 100% data, then I do cross-fault validation test, and in the result when I do the cross-fault validation test is different, because in the small in this table you can see that there is in the small amount of data training, it's around only actually it's around only 21% here. 21% of data training, it has the highest accuracy that it reached 72.69% of accuracy in the cross-fault. So here's the chart. It's different, and it's yeah, it's different with the as we suspect, yeah, because we suspect that when there is a higher data training, there will be higher also for the accuracy. Okay, so here is the precision recall. It also has a precision value around 21%. Okay, in conclusion, I do in this research. My conclusion is that with the additional value of reactive power, we gain for more than 20% accuracy and in recall and precision, and it has a better result, yeah, rather than only doing machine learning and doing disaggregation of NELM, non-intrusive load monitoring data, only from the real power data. Okay, this is my presentation. I think all of the conclusion is we can conclude that with this additional of reactive power, it will be have a better result, better accuracy, better precision, and better recall. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Fitra. Any question from you, the attendants or the audience in this session for Mr. Fitra? I think Mr. Fitra is the only one who came from other department, not from industrial engineering here.
Oh, yeah.
So, anybody? No?
So maybe different with our friends, yeah. They do simulating or with the software. I do it with the program. So I make a program in MATLAB, and yeah, this is the result.
Okay, I have question for you, Mr. Fitra.
Okay.
You compare many distance method, how to
Yes.
calculate distance. What is the motive? What is the motivation to do that kind of stuff?
So,
you say in the conclusion it's vary. Yeah. Do you have the best result come from certain method, or yeah?
Actually, actually for the if we test the data to 100% data, yeah. So to all the data we do the test from the 100% data. I found that the k value, the best is for k value 1. Yeah, and then from the distance method, that we cannot find which one is the best actually, but there is always from the every distance training data from the amount of training data, maybe from 10% up to 70%, there could be difference between them. So it could be maybe 10%. In 10% is Euclidean is better, then in 20% maybe it's Hassanat distance better. So we can say that the best distance is which one. So it has a different value.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, but do you have any, like you you apply on 8 methods distance, but
Yeah.
maybe the top 2 or top 3 that persistently showing a higher result compared to other, which one?
Okay, I think Euclidean distance is still the most commonly used, yeah, still commonly used and still easy to use, yeah, and it still have good result lah. We can compare it with the others distance, with the more complex distance, and Euclidean distance is one of the best, I think, still.
Yeah. Okay, I think maybe you can highlight those because in the result, even though it's simple, but still persistently show the good performance compared to other complex, maybe more complex method. Okay, thank you very much,
Yes.
Mr. Fitra. Now we will go to the next presenter, Mr. Miftahul Bayan. Okay, there is a wrong slide, I think. Wait. Di sini kok Miftahul. Who will be next? I think in the, it should be Mr. Miftahul, right? Or Miss Sarina?
It should be me. If we're looking at the schedule.
And
Based on the
this
schedules to be
paper
Miftahul.
should be,
Based on the schedules to be Miftahul Bayan.
yeah. Bayan. Or do you want to share your own screen, Mr.
Okay.
Miftahul Bayan?
Yeah, try.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I think better using ebook screen, ebook material.
Yeah, the assistant still looking for your presentation file. Have you found? No?
Not yet.
Yeah, it hasn't found yet. Maybe
Yeah.
if you want to start, or Miss Sarina want to start first?
Yeah, we could do that.
Which
Okay,
one?
I found it.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Have you seen the file?
Yes, please put it on the slideshow.
Wait a minute.
You have 10 minutes, please
Yeah.
start.
You see?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to my presentation. And I'm Miftahul Bayan. I'll be presenting the topics about application of statistics and machine learning to make a prediction of stock cases in geothermal operating at Darajat field.
Could you put in the slideshow, please?
Yeah. You see? Slideshow?
Yes.
Okay. I I'd like to introduce the geothermal technology and process flow here. Okay, Darajat Power Plant as a power generation plant which uses renewable energy from geothermal by exploring steam from the reservoir and flowing to steam scrubber separator to improve the steam purity and the quality of the steam. And the outflow from the turbine then going to condensate line and cooling tower as a brine and back to inject to earth to injection well. And currently there are 6 types of power plants in the world, depend on the characteristic of steam. And
excuse me, why the slide and my screen is only say slideshow and resume slideshow?
Okay.
What about anybody else?
Yes, the same.
Okay.
Yeah, it's normal now.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. Currently, there's a 6 type of power plant. There's a tri-steam, single flash and double flash, and the triple flash, and back pressure and binary. While Darajat power plant turbines operate from the source of tri-steam with vapor dominated, with type of technology is dry steam, where the mostly power plant in the world use a single flash. If we look at the graph, it's 42%, and the dry steam power plant only 20% of the total world operating capacity. And Darajat operated by Star Energy Geothermal as the 3rd biggest world that operates geothermal power plant, which total 875 megawatt equivalent of electricity generation. And Darajat contains of vapor dominated with a high temperature of steam and friendly chemical composition with non-condensable gas only 2%. And currently there are 34 production wells with 3 injection wells and 2 observation wells and 10 plug and abandoned well. If we're looking at this, is the illustration of the reservoir that produce steam to rotate the turbine. And the Darajat power plant is one of the biggest in Indonesia, with maximum capacity is 271 megawatt equivalent. And the reservoir location located in the same location with several power plants, which is Kamojang Field and Kamojang Field, the area known as the Kandang and Gagak Fault. At the same area also located several geothermal power plants, Wayang Windu, Karaha Bodas, Kamojang, Patuha. Darajat located about 230 kilometers southeast from Jakarta. This is the total well of Darajat well. And I like to describe about the geothermal well drilling. In terms of process, geothermal well drilling similar with the oil and gas drilling. In terms of drilling process, technique, and equipment. The difference is in the geothermal drilling, in the same way, in the same well pad, could be several wells. Different with the oil and drilling wells, because there's limited space and special permit and very high cost comparing with the oil and gas to build the well pad in geothermal. And also a different technical challenge where the well in geothermal well contains of high temperature, poisonous gases, and hard rock formation, and also corrosive fluid environment. So there's a specific requirement different from oil and gas, such as diameter, piping, valve, hose, casing and drill rigs to drill the wells. And we adopt all of the directional drilling methods. Vertical drilling, it could be directional drilling to reach the reservoir, horizontal drilling, or extended reach drilling. In this paper, I would like to investigate the suck pipe problem, which in the past data, referring to Schlumberger data, the most cases coming from solid induced backoff. This is easily identified. The second is low circulation, and several others are coming from wellbore instability, temporary zone closure, and cementing trouble during cementing work. And this is the data collection. I collect the data using electronic drilling recorder. 30 incident of stack pipe cases during 2010 to 2019 from 16 production wells. There are about 8,640 data per time, per variable. We can imagine if there is a 24 variable, it will be 8,640 data times 24 variables to analyze. So we use this methodology starting from data collection. Data collection, we use electronic drilling recorder, which record per single time, depends on the frequency. There's also a summary stack pipe incident, which was collected from the directional driller. And after data collection, we move to pre-processing, including data manipulation and data cleaning. Because we have several types of template and format of data recording, we have to reformatting again. We have to convert the format data into the same format, the same template. We use the we compile the data, we use the data staking, and also for incomplete data, also wrong data, we delete the wrong data. We rewind the data as part of our data wrangling activity, and then
please make it quick. It's 3 minutes left.
Okay, and data preparation, we use data clustering and dimension reduction to prepare data before we analyze. In data analysis, we use statistical tools. And in data modeling, we use a backpropagation neural network and deep learning. This paper scope is only to compare the statistical method and the machine learning and deep learning methods. If we're looking at the this is the classification. From the data, we see that our main focus is activity while drilling and normal drilling activity, which contains of 34.5% of the cases. And also we analyze the condition before start. We analyze that 37.9% of symptoms coming from a low circulation. So the low circulation is the main our analysis from the data. And using the dimension reduction, we have identified 4 variables. There are torque, weight on head, stack pipe pressure, and hook heights using principal component analysis. This is a past studies about predictive analysis. Several studies using multivariate logistic regression, fuzzy logic, SVM, for some algorithm, numeric method, numerical modeling, and artificial intelligence.
Maybe you
If you
can
look at
jump
the
to the
visualization of the
result
data,
and conclusion.
there's a pattern. Yeah. If we look at the based on the calculation, stack path prediction in normal and stable condition at derajat using backpropagation neural network showing best result compared to discriminant analysis and deep learning. While weight on height, torque, and standpipe pressure and hook height, significant variable measurement while drilling to predict stack path incident. And previous analysis using statistical analysis, dimension reduction, data classification, clustering, very helpful before we make a prediction analysis using deep learning or machine learning. And for the research, it's an opportunity to use a predictive analysis application for early detection of stack pipe cases that will help for professional directional driller. I think that is our presentation, my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. We don't have any chance to see the result. Maybe any, first I will give the chance for the audience. Any question from all of you, any of you? You can stop your share screen, Mr. Miftahul Bayan. Stop sharing. Any question? Okay, maybe if there is no question from me, why? There is a question from Mr. Fitra Hidianto. What is your best result method? Maybe before you answer his question, I just wonder why you try to use deep learning in this in one of your methods to compare with backprop, and the result, as I see from the summary, you said that BPNN, backpropagation neural network, showing better performance than deep learning, and the other one, I don't remember what is it. Yeah, please.
Yeah. There's since there are several types of data generates from the well. There is a stable process and unstable process. I'm going to looking at the impact of the stable and non-stable process from each well using the different methods. Since deep learning is, in my opinion, is more robust to analyze any kind of the process, while the statistical methods and backpropagation, while the statistical method is very helpful when we have previous analysis, and we know using the previous analysis such as logistic regression and several analysis tools, and we use deep learning to create a model based on their natural process. Based on they calculate the prediction based on their natural data, natural process. If we compare with the statistical analysis and other tools, so we use I use a deep learning method to see how is a deep learning methods work to predict, and how accurate deep learning if we compare to machine learning and statistical analysis.
Yeah, okay, because we have limited time, maybe we can discuss in other occasion. And for the answer for Mr. Fitra Hidianto question, he asks, what is your best result method? Can you answer it,
Yeah,
Mr. Miftah?
the best result is using backpropagation. Backpropagation showing best result, best accuracy, even with two others methods. It's because there is a concept of backpropagate in BPNN method to reduce the loss or error.
Okay, because the time is already behind the schedule, so then I think thank you very much, Mr. Miftahul Bayan, for the presentation. And now it's time for Miss Sarina
Yes.
for doing the presentation. You have 10 minutes. Please make it concise. Thank you.
Thank you for the time and place. I'm Sarina. I am presenting my paper with title Proposed Model of Academic Reading Material Recommendation System. Next slide, please. The background is, as we can see, that in our country, that university has a small proportion of libraries that providing academic reading material. University is the primary user of academic reading material such as thesis, dissertation, skripsi, or journal or paper, and some other kind. Next slide, please. I took the data from Perpustakaan Nasional Indonesia. It shows that from all university libraries populations that only less than 50% that provide online services, that this could indicate that making a online services is still a difficult thing. It's not an easy thing to do. And next slide, please. One of the services online that university could provide is a recommendation system, which we know that if we use our own university online services and then we search for a certain thesis or certain dissertations, that the system only could provide the suggested paper based on keywords, and it may make the university less interesting rather than using the other ebook or other reading material resources like Science Direct. And if we're following the sophisticated and common way recommendation systems such as Amazon, Facebook, and building recommendation, it means that we have to build a database management, which is not, which is very expensive. And if we use the most common topic modeling for the recommendation systems such as LDA, LSA, some other researcher already stated on their paper that this technique is not basically is heavy computation. And the idea for this paper is how to make a recommendation system with database that all universities already have, such as title, abstract, and the title, abstract, and the author itself. So we only use 3 variables for making a recommendation system. So researchers named Mikolov introduced a method, a model, next slide please, called word embedding, and which is, I think this method is suitable for the database that we have or all university have. So the purpose of this study is to propose word embedding as a topic modeling by using only 2 inputs variable, which is title and abstract. The result is to find similarity between each paper that we could give as a recommendation. Next slide, please. The methodology first, I collected the data itself using the Scopus database using IPI from the user that I have. And then from the, using the IPI key, I'm using the R as an interface to collect 11 main topics of a paper, such as Internet of Things, neural network, person research, and etc. It's just a random topics that I collected. And using this IPI key, I can collect more than 2,000 titles that it usually gave on the web page. So the data, I managed to collect 29,000 data with 4 attributes only: title, year, abstract, and the author itself. Next slide, please. From this data set, we make a corpora. It's the actually it's the it's a corpus that we collect together. For an optional step, we can make an index as for the title, because if you want to find some similarity between one paper, we need to call some words in the title, which is actually usually not short title. So for optional step, we could make an index from the title, and then we could save the corpora as in title abstract, but this is optional. You can also not save it like that. Next slide, please. And then after we collect all the corpus, we do text processing as usual. We do lowering, eliminate special characters, and irrelevant words such as at IEE, Elsevier, and etc. And then stop words. And then I am adding another stop words, because there are a lot of words like authors 2019 that are not supposed to be in our corpus. And then I choose limmatization because it represents all the words more understandable. And then I do taxonomization. Next, please. The word embedding I propose is to use 2 variables, which means I'm using Python, which is in the functional IPA of Keras. I'm defining a function to use 2 variables, and then each with its own hidden layer with its own nodes, which the result of the output of its input, we could gather the result using dot product, because it's basically a vector.
3 more minutes.
Okay, and then the result of the dot product, because it's an array, we could reshape it, and then we could use a sigmoid as the result to do negative sampling, and the output is the value of the embedding itself. Next slide, please. On the evaluation, I'm more into keeping it simple. I use the cosine word similarity, as in if I add the word vehicle minus car and then I plus with construction, it should be resulting road or highway, something like that. And then extract the embedding value to compare each paper, which paper is more similar with a certain paper. Next slide, please. And the result, I choose 3 paper that I think it could show the purposes of word embedding. In paper 9, it says that mentioning a collaborative verbing use, and it had some similarity with paper 10 and paper 11, but paper 9, regardless the title, is not really connected. It says that the paper 10 has bigger similarity, because the word embedding is capturing all the words and all the context inside the abstract and it says based on the embedding value that paper 9 and paper 10 is closer. Meanwhile, paper 11 says that based on the abstracts, could not make the same context between paper 9 and paper 10. Next slide. So the conclusion is that the word embedding itself, it could use to be the value it could use as a threshold to which paper is similar to each other. Why I included title, because the title is basically has linkage regarding the topic or themes with one another. So making a threshold from embedding value, it could be as a base of recommendation system, but and for further research, we could expand the embedding value to make a cluster or a class or whatever, but basically we could use the embedding value. Next slide, please. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you for accepting the benefit of this presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Sarina, an interesting presentation. Any audience or attendants in this session want to ask question about the research? No? Yeah, from me again, Ms. Sarina. So you are trying to propose academic reading material recommendation, such as in the one we saw in the Amazon or in the any bookstore online when we try to find a book. Is it
Yes.
true? Something like that.
Yeah.
But it will be used in the library.
Yes. You could be used in the library.
Yeah. What is the additional variable that you use to make a certain similarity between among the reading material? I heard that you add title. Is
yes.
it?
Yeah. I used to
never be used in the previous study, the title, or in addition to title, what else that you use?
In my paper, I didn't add any additional variable. The using for word embedding for topic modeling is not new, but mostly for sentiment analysis, mostly for to predict speech, post speech, and but for recommendation system itself, the idea of using the embedding value itself for recommendation system is still, I haven't find a proper journal for it.
Okay. So could you tell us one more about the embedding system? What is it?
Embedding system is a method consists of a simple neural network that the neural network itself use a vector as an input. So basically, we change all the corpus that we have, the words that we have, into an integer first. After that, we change the words into an integer. It could be we could make that as an input to the neural network itself. But the neural network is not a deep learning. It's actually just one hidden layers with certain nodes that we could choose as a hyperparameter. And then the result is, until these days, the result is a probability, which is in a vector space. It could be as a vector. The softmax optimization make it possible for us to predict the highest words that surround the input that we choose, then we make that the words result as a context of the word that we choose.
Yeah. So it's not only from one word, but maybe a combination from two words. Is that what you mean? 2 words or 3 words?
It depends. There are 2 kinds of embeddings. That there are bag of words. There are skipgram. The one that I use is skipgram. Skipgram is choosing one input to predict all the words around the words that I choose as an input. In bag of words, it's the other way around.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so for today, for this session, we have finished the presentation from all 6 presenters. Before we ending this session, I want you to all participate in the photo session. So please make sure your face can be captured fully in the screen. So maybe Mr. Helmi Qasim, he can stand a little bit up. Okay. 1, kamu hitung aja.
3, 2, 1. Okay, done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for attending the session and having a very good presentation. And the next, if you want to join the next session, it will be on 12:20. Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon. Stay healthy and happy. Di end aja ya.